Kamala Harris once again proving to be the world's worst boss. Staffers desperately fleeing as her vice presidency turns into a sinking ship. Yet another top aide is bolting after a week of flops, cringeworthy comments, and all-around bad news. Kamala's chief of staff will be the 13th and most senior aide to get out after reports of a toxic and abusive workplace. And the most important job she was put in charge of, the border, is an utter disaster. Even Democrats can't figure out what exactly Kamala is doing about it.
The Democratic voters are not happy. And if you look at the independent voters, they're not happy about this decision. So who are we trying to please?
Democrats are now divided thanks to the administration border failures. The party split over Biden's decision to end Title 42. And it gets worse. A Texas National Guard soldier has died after going on a mission to rescue migrants. And that on a sad note. But let's talk about Kamala. I mean, this woman actually thinks that she can run for president, and she apparently is an individual who is involved in a toxic workplace, abusive environment. She doesn't read the reports, and yet she still is in there thinking she's doing a great job. Katie, what do you think of that?
Well, I think it's obvious what her situation is. She's living in an entitlement state because she's been handed a number of things as a result of just asking for them. She wasn't vetted by the California press. She certainly wasn't vetted by the national press when she was picked for vice president. And I think on the border issue, she's been given that issue because the administration doesn't want to do anything about the border. They hand her a portfolio full of items that they have an agenda on. They say that they're doing something by appointing her to be in charge of it, and then they don't actually do anything. And I want to talk about the Texas Army National Guard soldier who has gone missing. This administration has vilified anybody from Border Patrol to Texas National Guard to DPS in Texas, saying that they are racist, that they somehow have a nefarious agenda when it comes to the job they're doing to defend the country. This is the kind of work that they're doing every day. Going in the river, taking off their body armor to see if they can save people who are not Americans, who are entering the country illegally, who are breaking our laws, and literally putting their lives on the line every single day. And there's no statement from the White House. There's no concern about the safety and that for these people, that the administration, that they put them in this position because they refused to close the border, and they're still doing nothing. And on Title 42, there's now this convenient Democratic argument not to end it, but it really just is a talking point because Title 42 essentially has been ended. They're releasing single adult males into the country all over the place, and the administration is not going to do anything to change that.
What about the fact, Greg, that you have someone who has died working at the border, the National Guard, an American trying to save an illegal coming to this country in an illegal way? You know, the frightening part of it all is that we haven't heard from Kamala Harris. I mean, she is supposed to be in charge of the border, and there's no word from the White House. I mean, it's almost as though it doesn't matter what happens.
She really is the CNN plus of political leaders. I will say one serious thing about that. Joe Biden singled out a Border Patrol agent, accusing him of whipping Haitian immigrants. They had the investigation. They found nothing. They never apologized. He never apologized to the Border Patrol agent. Why doesn't he single out this heroism? It's almost like he only singles out American citizens to smear them, right? Because you have these examples where he only goes after, you know, whether they're Trump supporters or, you know, parents at school meetings or this. So that's the serious thing. It would be nice if they did say something. But Kamala, I wonder, does she ever notice that everyone is leaving? Like, that would bother me. Like, imagine entering a room at a party and within 10 minutes, everyone's gone. And you realize maybe you might have stepped in some dog poop. But I mean, is it affecting her at all? I mean, does she have somebody who's just constantly on LinkedIn, like trying to get people to go? Do they tell her it's for Kamala? I will say this. If I was an unemployed Democrat, I would definitely take a job with her because it's like volunteering for a war. It's like, you know, you're at a bar and somebody says, you know, I was in Iraq and another guy was in Afghanistan, and you go,
Yeah,
did a
I
tour
worked.
with Kamala. And you become a veteran of the Kamala occupation. And then all of a sudden you realize there might be a whole group of former staffers, like a special kind of AA that shares their PTSD memories working with her. Because there's like 13 now. That's like a football team plus 2, I think, right?
Yeah, 13.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Gene,
Well, you know what? Even Mayorkas is talking about the fact that, you know, this thing, we can't cover the border if he drops the mandate on May 23rd, which in effect it may already have been dropped. But the truth is, you've got so many within the Democrat Party. You've got so many people who are saying, even Mayorkas is saying it now. What is Biden's option right now?
Well, a lot of things here. Let me first say these are this officer at the border is presumed dead. I know we hope that is not the case. The facts don't look good. Now, my prayers are with him and his family, and I would imagine the White House will make some sort of statement in due time, if not before the show's over. 2, I think the president, this policy at the border has to come from the White House. Kamala Harris has been put in charge of this effort, and we're hopeful that she's able to articulate a policy. My frustration has been simply what has been talked about at the table. And I think a lot of Americans are curious, what are we doing at the border? And what are we doing, I think, more holistically to try to prevent people from coming to the border? Now, there's I think a legitimate argument has been made that some of the posturing on the part of this administration has made it likely that more people would come to the border illegally. We can debate that, but I think there's probably more credence in that than not. But I think Republicans who want an answer to this, and not just the political side of it or political issue, and there are Democrats who politicize it too. We have to be serious about investing in this region, in this hemisphere. This is our own hemisphere. We've spent trillions over the last 25 years. When you were in Congress, I predated you in Congress, stabilizing other parts of the world, which we should. But we spend pennies trying to stabilize our own hemisphere. And we have to get serious about that if we are indeed serious about controlling and limiting the number of people that come to the border. I hope I hope the vice president gets a policy from the president, and I hope she's then able to implement it in a serious and firm way.
but Harold, it's not just our hemisphere. People are coming in from all over the world right now because the border is open. And again, I think if you focus more on securing your border as opposed to, you know, investing money in the Central Triangle, we're going to be better off. And I think if you
Well, you
take
can do both, is all I'm saying.
if you take all the talent out of these countries, who's left to actually rebuild the countries and have an economy? Can I just quickly talk about Kamala Harris? So we both had congressional
Yeah,
offices.
I'll ask the question.
Thank
But
you.
you go
Thank
right
you,
ahead.
Judge.
Assume I did.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I got a phone call to say.
Twice?
So, listen, in a congressional office, Harold and I saw this. When you have bad bosses, people who are mean, they yell at their staff, or people who are ineffective, you see the staff flood out of those offices, and it's a revolving door. And I'm not going to mention who they are, but you and I both know those offices of horrible bosses. But also you see that staff wants to consolidate around power, whether it's the leadership or ranking member or chairman. The vice president is a really powerful position, and the staff has the more power that their boss has. And so you see people leaving Kamala Harris's office as the vice president, that underscores how really bad it is. And I think people don't want to have their reputation sullied. They see how bad she is in the stump, how she can't put sentences and paragraphs together, how everything she's been delivered as a policy priority, she can't get done. They're like, listen, my career is too important to me. I'm going to step back. I don't want any Kamala Harris on me. Don't put that taint on me. I'm done.
You know, she doesn't care any more for her staff than she does for the people of the country in terms of the way she's handling the border.
But
Well
guys, in
said.
fairness,
All right.
President Trump had a couple of national security advisors and a few chiefs of staff. This happens. These are tough jobs. And if you don't want to
13?
serve, these are. Well, I think if you go back and look at the number, Judge, I think you'd be surprised.
I was looking at the numbers. Why are you nodding? It's not 13.
There was a lot of turnover in the Trump administration.
Yeah, but the president made the decision that they weren't doing what he wanted.
But the point is, it was a different reason for turnover than this. It didn't have to do with Trump. It had to do with the onslaught of the media coverage and just the constant harassment from the outside.
But the staff members that the president has compared to the small office of the vice president, if you look at percentages, she's lost a huge percentage of her staff compared to Trump, who lost a very small
There's no
percentage.
comparison. She lost 13 people walked out on her.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.